What's up to all our sidekicks and henchmen out there in the Geek Nation? Actually, it's henchfolk now. I apologize. Let me do that again. Cut. We're not live. Cut. Take two. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchmen out there? Dang, I did it again. Cut. Take three.
All right, take three.
What's up to all our sidekick and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? My name is
Wait, did you just say
Noel.
sidekick? One?
Yeah, I just want to talk to one person. This is just
cool.
for you, whoever you are.
But all the henchfolk.
But all the henchfolk.
All the henchfolk, one sidekick. All of them. Anyway, my name is Noel, and I'm recording this week live from Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex here in Manayunk, PA. I think it's 4437. Whatever.
4327.
4327 Main Street. And you'll notice right off the bat before we do all the instructions that there is one person technically missing. That is JD, the captain of this very leaky vessel. Nothing that is our news to announce other than everyone is happy, everyone's great. When he's ready to tell everybody everything, he will. But we're all incredibly stoked and happy. That's all. With me today is Len.
Yo, what's up, Hot Ledger Boy? This is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble.
And
Brian.
yeah,
Brian.
you know what I'm... Brian, is there anything new that happened to you this week?
Anything new
Yeah.
happened to me this week?
Yeah, I'm switching formats. I really just want to talk to you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it. Len, enjoy.
Who's Len?
He's this guy. I ran JD's store for a little bit this week, and it was fun.
Yeah, if anybody, the store will have abbreviated hours over the next over the maternity leave and paternity leave, and Brian and I will be helping out here and there. How was one whole day? Paternity leave, you like that? Yeah, I didn't make that up, but that's pretty good though.
But I didn't know the store was going under any type of paternity leave. I mean, what's going on?
Well, I
if
know.
you,
I think
if
it's
you
just
feel free to share, I don't know.
Not front facing for the next couple of weeks, so he can help take care of the new family situation.
Oh, okay. Oh,
right.
okay.
Right. He's not
cool.
there.
Yeah, we're just keeping the store running,
At the store.
essentially. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Letters.
We have
We've got letters. Oh,
We
we've
got
got lots of letters. He's not here to say. He's not here to poo-poo it. It's pretty great. All right, so I've got one letter, and Brian, I believe you have one also.
I have one.
And it goes like this as I read it in tiny font. Please feel free to edit as appropriate. I didn't. So sorry.
Did you feel
homosexual.
free? Did you feel free to do
I
that?
felt free to, but I didn't feel the urge to. I haven't sent anything the last couple of weeks because A, 2 weeks ago I had a race, and B, I think listeners are tired of hearing from the same people. I know I am. It's hard to get stuff in time for a weekly commentary anyway. So anyhow, what do you think of superheroes drawn as specific celebrities? I ask because Marvel's Stormbreaker spotlight on R.B. Silva shows Mr. Fantastic clearly drawn as John Krasinski. Do you think that means he's in the movie soon? Maybe, but way back when, Wanted was drawn as Eminem and Halle Berry and ended up being cast with James McAvoy and Angelina Jolie. Also, I've never been a fan of Reed Richards, so maybe Krasinski would be perfect casting, but to me, he's a Fleck-level douchebag, punchable face. Okay, I feel like we triggered him. Secondly, Infinite Frontier, is DC just deciding to scramble all the eggs and see what happens? All my DC books have Infinite Frontier pages that look like instead of rebooting, they're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. What shouldn't be thrown at the wall, guys? Black Adam as the centerpiece of the Justice League, referencing my prior comment. Yeah, movie influence, The Rock, yada yada. But Black Adam leading the Justice League. And Black Adam doesn't look like The Rock nor previous versions of Black Adam. He looks like generic stud guy. So that's not good, but maybe overall we will get some fun stuff out of it. As a serious comment, reader for more than 40 years, I am so over continuity, but some versions work and some don't. I hope you'll be able to give some commentary, even if edited. Thanks for making Sunday morning long runs something to look forward to. So I guess Homosexual is a runner. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
I didn't know that either.
It's cool.
And he enjoys our show during runs. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let's do the first one first. Just overall photo referencing. Do you get thrown out sometimes or thrown off when an artist clearly depicts an actor in one of the comics? I have an example.
There's tons of examples. What example comes to your mind immediately? I wonder if it's something I think.
Salvador LaRocca just threw me off almost the entire Invincible Iron Man run when he made Tony Stark Sawyer from Lost.
Oh,
Oh,
my
did he?
example is Sawyer from Lost too, but it's a different guy. It's a different comic.
It's just Sawyer from Lost, the whole 40-issue run, and it was just
man.
it was so it just took me out. I love the movie. I love the book anyway, but it was just like, okay, I
It
get
doesn't
it.
really fit.
Did it take you out
the character.
because he made it look like Sawyer? Then you kept hearing it as Sawyer, and thus it didn't sound true to character, or is it just so much that the face just took you out?
The face took me out. The obvious face took me out, and I like it was almost Greg Land level of like, yeah, that's a thing you traced.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it's like literally Sawyer from as he appeared in People magazine, and then as he appeared in Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, it was like the scruffle, the same exact thing, the hair, same exact length. You could almost, it was really obvious. I mean, maybe I'm crazy and saw something that wasn't there, but what do you guys think?
I saw there was a new Universal redo in the early 2000s, and I believe Starbrand was Sawyer from Lost. Was the
Who's the artist?
I am wondering that now. I wonder if it was RB Silva. But it at the time I was like, oh, it's interesting that this is happening. It does kind of. I don't think it's quite as good as if it looked like a different person, like that I didn't know or wasn't a real person. Was it RB Silva?
No, it was Salvador LaRocca, the same artist as Invincible Iron Man. Same artist.
There you go. And
yeah,
it was
he
just as
really
you
likes Sawyer from Lost.
That was immediately the one that came to my mind, and it was like same hair, like not that actor. It was Sawyer, and my understanding of it was like this is fine, but it's because they're not doing as much as they could do. Like they're taking a shortcut or whatever, and that may not be the case. But that was just kind of the impression that I have.
Well, I think to me, especially as of late, the idea of using these real world actors, and more often than not, it's actors that they're using to portray to use their faces in these character spots. Everybody's trying to vie for the Samuel Jackson, opportunity. From back in the Ultimate when Brian Hitch made the Nick Fury of that universe look like Samuel Jackson. And then lo and behold, when the Marvel comics are created, Samuel Jackson is cast as Nick Fury. So much so that Marvel bent over backwards and then flipped inside its own ass to turn Nick Fury into Samuel Jackson.
He had an illegitimate son who had a best friend named Cheese, whose actual real name was Coulson, and then he lost an eye, and then he shaved his head. Like, it was a whole thing. It was organic. It was organic and well done.
It was planned out ever since it was first plotted in Century Number 1 way back in the 1960s.
Oh yeah. It was if you look at it, it's it's in all the old character manuals and history of the Marvel universe. It's a whole thing.
We got Kirby sketches. This has been
there's Nick Fury Jr. with Crackle all over it. Dot matrix print. It's to suggest otherwise is awful.
It doesn't take me out of the book most times. Most of the times when I've seen it, sometimes I've seen it and it seems like kind of gimmicky and I just keep it moving. And then sometimes it helps enhance the comic. I'm thinking of when, was it Greg Land? I'm trying to think of who did the art on this Superman run where he made Superman more or less Christopher Reeves.
That is
Gary Frank.
Gary Frank. This was I always get
when he does it. Yeah, and Christopher Reeves just looks so much like Superman
it looks
so
good,
you're
though.
like, all right, that works.
It worked because I did start hearing Christopher Reeves Superman, but that sounded like Superman.
Yeah,
and I didn't mind. You know what I mean? So sometimes it can enhance. More often than not, let's put it that way. it enhances the situation as opposed to deflects from it. I will say though that when Alex Ross used to make Reed Richards look like the professor from Gilligan's Island, I liked it, but then it did slightly take me out because the professor wasn't quite as smart as he purported to be. So
off that island.
Yeah, I mean, but he can make anything out of coconuts though. So
he's just
he's just smart. It's just a different muscle.
Point true.
He's more of an engineer than a scientist. Robert made a really good comment here. I have the opposite pet peeve when comics inspired by specific shows. Smallville's the best example. Lose their visual similarities and become generic. So I was going to say before he commented here, one of the examples that I have that I think is perfect is when you have an intellectual property or like a comic book based on a TV show or a movie or something. If it's so hyper specific that these are the actors just in single frames that they draw over, it almost feels detached or lazy. But when there's like that artist interpretation of the characters that you are familiar with, so like my favorite example is Georges Janty on that season 8 of Buffy. All the characters were clearly the actors, but it was in his style. So you weren't confused or anything, but it definitely was its own kind of visual storytelling as opposed to just copy pasted.
And that
but I guess the Smallville one too.
Like if you're doing an adaptation of a property that started out as a live thing, it makes sense. That's then you're judged on how well you can adapt that.
I think it was that first run of Star Wars when Marvel got it too. They had such a murderer's row of artists on it. It was like John Cassidy was the first arc, and then Stuart Immonen took over, and they're all completely different styles of artists, but they just kind of did their own riff on Star Wars, and you knew who everyone was. It didn't look like Mark Hamill tracing. It was really good. Right.
Oh, but Rob's comment brings to mind the Flash costume after the '90s Flash series. Right?
Oh yeah,
when it very heavily influenced Wally West's 90s costume with the darker, shinier metal and the white eyes and the belt. Well, the belt was a great addition, the pointy belt. But yeah, for so many years I was like, I mean, I love that show because it's the Flash, but change the costume to this.
But sometimes that works because going back to the Ultimates Captain America influenced his costume influenced a huge change in the regular Captain America.
Wait, but that's the other direction, I think. I think the show happened with the Flash and it influenced
that's true. You're right. You're right.
Well, that was more what it offended me on principle as a
it did happen in that it happened in that direction with Guardians of the Galaxy. So it was completely almost militaristic uniform, but then when Chris Pratt has the trench coat all of a sudden and just the face mask comic just overnight became
that's true.
Little star smuggler.
Oh, I mean, I think it happens. Kid. I think it happens all the time. Like Michael Keaton's Batman, I think, is when we got the very limited all black Batman costume in the comics.
Costume. I hated that costume so much.
It was good in movies. It didn't work in comics just because you needed more options when working in shadow, not just black costume with
silhouette all the time.
Real quick, just because it's not going to play on the podcast. You referenced that question, Noel, to Robert. It was actually Robert Jean Pellecchio who gave us that question. I just want
Pellecchio, actually.
Pellecchio, excuse me.
It's I made that mistake for some time myself.
I just want to point that out because I know we got multiple Roberts in the chat, and I just distinguish from.
I think all Roberts are legion. So when one Robert speaks, he speaks for all Roberts.
It is with all of their minds, which is one mind.
You know what? Only because I have had the pleasure of witnessing the uniqueness that is Robert Monroe Jr. on all of my other streams, I'm not going to go there. Robert Monroe Jr. is a Robert of one.
He's Robert Prime. And the rest.
There you go.
Okay. You go. Anyway, we do have another letter. I don't know if Brian wants to read that letter.
Yeah, here we go. I've got it.
Oh wait, we didn't get to the second question.
Oh yeah, weren't there actually 3 questions?
20 seconds each on Infinite Crisis or Infinite Frontier. I think he's right. Scrambling all the eggs, see what works, and then try and figure it. within 2 years they're going to reestablish a continuity. I'm calling it now. What do you guys think?
I think this is the same kind of thing. I was just thinking about it. Like the original Crisis, as far as continuity goes, it got streamlined over time, but they didn't know what was going to be the case for a little while. And that was just out of story. This one's just a little more in story. And these things, these things happen. And I think he's right about Black Adam. It's because of the movie, but we'll see what happens.
Based on the conversation that I had this weekend with a group of friends, DC is edging very close to the point where there will be a legion of people joining me and saying, I don't give a fuck about whatever the hell they're doing, because they just keep changing shit. They literally announce big initiatives, and then in issue 1 of the big initiative, they announce the next big fucking initiative. Fuck them.
Well, yeah. I see this, like, that's been something that DC has done for a while, and a lot of people attributed it to Dan DiDio, and I don't know if that was true or not, but it seemed like for a while there was like, DC's going to be this now, and then very quickly after it was like, DC's going to be this now, and then that culminated with the New 52, and then I've seen the ones that have come after the New 52 as kind of like, let's go back a little bit to what we were and try to get back to that, and I'm hoping that after this, they've now like officially re-allowed their old continuities, and he is not there, and however much he had to do with it.
I don't know. My 2 cents is, when you're doing sequential storytelling, which comic books are, especially big 2 comics or superhero comics, they're serialized stories. They have a thread line from one issue to one issue, and it's perpetual second act. When you're doing that, you need some sort of, or at least doing that successfully, you need some sort of universal grounding, like one thread line that is the real one, and then everything flies around it. So the idea of all of it is just as weighted as everything else means that none of it is more weighted than anything else. And it, like, for me, it lacks that grounding. So I'm only reading things that I'm interested in the creative team, as opposed to, I don't want to miss what happens in the greater arc. Like, that's almost gone completely for me when it comes to DC. Whereas with Marvel, we're going to talk about one of them today. Like, I'm not interested in every single corner of the King in Black trash. I just like the Venom book, but I will, if I think that like something might kind of click or matter for the larger story that I'm enjoying, I'll dip in, because I know that it's like that level grounding.
But specifically for the King in Black story.
But it's what I mean. So if there's a tie-in over in DC, I'm not like everything is everything. Well, like, there's no primary. I mean, that's right now.
King in Black is just an event, and whatever the next DC event is, that'll tie in however
there is a grounded thread line throughout the entire line that this large event is happening, and here's some aspects of it. With DC right now, it's Infinite Frontier, and the important thing about that is everything's important.
Well, I don't think like it's not going to be like that. Like that is in the story. This is my opinion. That is in the story, but in actual practice, it's a continuity will gel as they're telling these stories. I think this was just a way for them to say, like, we can use stories that we want to use. It's not like every Golden Age adventure will be considered to have happened, even though, yes, that is what it said in Death Metal, but I don't, like, it's not going to stay like that. Like, that's not...
But do you need an event to do that?
I don't think so.
All you need to do is just have. All you really need is just one conference room, and bring everybody into the conference room. It's called a Zoom meeting, and tell them, "Look, guys, everything counts now. Go write your stories, and let's get it moving."
Well, I think you're telling us.
No, I think what I kind of like what Star Wars did. So there was millions of pages of Star Wars material that was like considered canon or half canon or part of canon, and then as soon as they wanted to start over, they were just like, hey, all that counts are these 6 things. We will pull from whatever we want to over time, but those are just your fun else worlds. Now this is what matters. And everybody freaked out and got upset and stuff. But now 10 years in, they're pulling things that are popular and reprinting older stuff, and it's less like harsh, or people don't really care as much. They didn't create like a big, we're going to have a crisis on Star Wars universes, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this.
Well, right, this. But there's a difference between like whether they felt like doing that or not. Like, do you want to do it in story or not?
That's what I mean. To me,
two different choices.
To me, they didn't do it in story.
Right.
And in hindsight, maybe that might end up being more successful than doing it in story,
Maybe.
Which, I mean, just on its face is a convoluted act or a convoluted gesture.
Like, now that story is done, how does it matter how it came out? You know what I mean? Like
I mean, time
Crisis
spent
on Infinite Earths happens.
It's only time spent. Yeah.
Right.
That's whether you liked it or not, it's
right.
time spent. If you didn't like it, time spent feels wasted. If you did like it, time spent feels fun.
Right.
But this is enough time spent on this topic. Let's move on.
Thank you.
What was the third one? Was there a third question? I thought he had a third question.
No, just 2 questions.
All right. Well, then I have an email. I don't know if it has questions. This is from Christopher Goodnight, and he has sent it to me in hopes that it would get on the air, just in case the usual channels were not being monitored. So here we go.
Jesus Christ.
No, he didn't say that. Those are my words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Which would be, yeah. So anyway, he says, between WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, are we in a better world of comic properties adaptation? I know Falcon Winter Soldier isn't out yet, but it looks fantastic, and WandaVision has been nothing short of amazing. Like most adaptations, it's got me wanting to reread the source material, parenthetically, disassembled in House of M, close parentheses. What would you recommend to people looking forward to Falcon and Winter Soldier? I think we're getting to the point where shows are better than movies. I agree. I said I agree. He does not, in the middle of his email, state that he agrees with himself. The DC shows have been on and off. Their adaptation of Crisis on Earth X was better than any of the more recent DC movies, but they took a huge step back with Elseworlds and Crisis on Infinite Earths / the Arrow season finale, killed almost any interest I had in the Flarrow universe. I'm looking forward to the Superman and Lois show, Shout Out Our Son. Apparently, the female villain shows up in the trailer as part of the Flag Smashers. This, I assume, is about Falcon Winter Soldier. But is anyone else expecting her to be Sin? What's a story or character from the movies you wish you hadn't wasted on they hadn't wasted on previous movies? For me, it's AIM. I love those beekeeper suits, and I was disappointed with AIM's lackluster performance in Iron Man 3. Chris, Saint Saucy, good night. So, I'll tell you, what do we got? I agree. The TV has been a lot better than movies, and I think for some years now, actually. I think it's about length of story, right? Movies were the premiere because they were the longer form story, and then when TV started doing season long stories, that became the more room for storytelling, and it didn't like change right away, but I think that is what led to TV being more kind of a premiere experience, and now it's like we're in it. Like Samuel L. Jackson is on a streaming thing. They're doing movie characters interchangeably with TV characters, and I am far more excited about pretty much any TV show that I'm excited about. Is I'm like looking forward to more than most movies that I'm interested in.
I think it was a progression too. Like there was for this to have happened, like the current state that we're in now, where film characters and television characters are intermingling between mediums. There had to be a level of cinematic television for a good decade before that started feeling comfortable. Because when I was growing up, you were a TV actor or you were a film actor, and you don't cross between the two, or it would sully your brand.
Right.
But then,
or like if you went from movie to TV, you could go TV to movie, then you made the big time.
You can upgrade, but you can't downgrade. Right. So there had to be like a good 10 years of cinematic television with large budgets. So stuff that felt like movies, like Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, like that had to happen in order for a large studio like Disney to be like, oh, we have just as many eyeballs over here as over here, so we should invest just as much money over here as over here. And then because we own all, you know what? Somebody made the comparison for like the Marvel actors, everybody a part of the MCU. They made the comparison of this is as close to how it was in the 1920s, where you had studio players. So you had actors that were just signed on to studios. Yeah. And they would use you for whatever. So it would be just like this whole cross-pollinated kind of thing. So like a person would become a part of the brand. That happening with Marvel, I think, is really, really interesting across like all of the channels, like internet and television, and I think that's super awesome. Oh, even like audio stuff, like they're having their actors like video games. Like this all super exciting, really cool stuff, and I think there needed to be like a proof of concept that television can feel as large for this to even be possible.
And even like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted to do that and couldn't, you know? I mean, it was okay, but it was definitely like...
I think it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a victim of circumstance, though. So like they had the eyeballs and they had like the buy-in that they could do film on television, yet you had like the executives at ABC that were like, yeah, cool. This is a 1 hour procedural and we do want 24 episodes.
Right.
So it's just like the model stretched out like the want. Whereas with the Disney Plus shows, it's like, no, it's a 4 episode story. That's it.
Right. You can do whatever you want. But also the level of crossover. Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is that the Disney model does work, but the proof of concept of that was born to be a failure. You're right, Noel, as far as on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and to a degree on the CW shows as well, because even when they became more serialized, these were serialized stories that had to be stretched out over 22, 24 episodes, which then gave you like a lot of filler in between. And then that proof of concept was proven out even more, but proven to be where, okay, success lies in 10 to 13 episode arcs, i.e. the Netflix shows, which while some of them felt a little longer, and then as those seasons progressed, they realized, okay, this doesn't need to be 13 shows. This maybe needs to be 10, or maybe this needs to be 8. And now Disney is at the point, well, really, if you just tighten up your budget and tighten up your story, you could do 4, 6, or whatever, but that proof of concept has played out over the years as the medium has learned which is the best place to place these properties. I think to answer one of his questions as far as the world of comic book adaptations, I think they're in a better place now, primarily because outside of the big two, which for good or bad, and I think there's arguments on both sides of the coin, the big two are owned by 2 media corporations, Disney and Warner Brothers. So yes, they have an outlet for their IP. But the world of comic book adaptations is better because all of the other outlets have, the need for this content. And as opposed to trying to create their own content, which is where in the past you would get watered down stuff that was kind of like, middling, like Manimal and all that other type of junk, you now have them reaching out to the, independent comic book creators or some of the third rung of the big names, Image and Dark Horse, and finding properties there or creators there upon which to base their properties, i.e. Mike Miller with Netflix, i.e.
what is
Resident
it, Boom?
Alien is a pretty out of the way book.
Boom has like first look deals at Netflix, Amazon with The Boys and Invincible.
Boys. And Invincible, right. Yeah. And also like we can't leave out The Walking Dead. What The Walking Dead was a comic book adaptation, and the explosion of that and what that got for Robert Kirkman to get all his stuff out there.
A lot of this, I think, has to do obviously with like technological capability, and being able to do something that looks enough like what you can draw, like so you can draw whatever you want. I think that obviously has had a lot to do with like how well comic adaptations have been accepted, but there also has been a change in just doing what is in the comic, right? Like obviously things have to change in different media, but I remember a time when it was like it seemed as though film and TV directors felt like they had to change things from the comic because it's like, hey, this would be a pretty cool story if I change it, if I put my spin on it or whatever. And that has gone away. It's just been like, oh yeah, this story is successful.
But primarily what that was that I think that the world at large didn't believe that the world at large would believe, some of the things that happened in comic books. They thought it maybe stretch believability, and now they're realizing, no, like you could have never gotten away in the days as big as Superman and Batman were in the 80s. You could have never gotten away with, either of those movie universes entering in a multiverse. You just couldn't have done it because the heads would have blown up. You know what I mean? But now you can do that, and you can do it with absolutely no. They got multiverses in cartoons, and the kids know about multiverses.
Although that was, that reminds me of just the idea that we learn things at a younger age, right? Like this, like condensation of information. That, like, think about tying your shoes, right? Like that was somebody's life's work, maybe one day, like figuring out how to tie knots, right? Like took a long time to get that knot, right? And now it's like a rite of passage at a very young age is figure out how to tie your shoes. And like the idea of the multiverse came in, and then it filters down, and we kind of like pick up on it at younger, more impressionable ages. It becomes part of our worldview. And I think that is a very hopeful and interesting thing about the human experience.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. You're right. Like every generation, it gets these seemingly large or childish or silly notions of four-color heroes or the convoluted idea of a multiverse. So you could do all kinds of things in publishing, becoming like popular nomenclature with other mediums. It's just every generation kind of gets used to the one before and the understanding of it. So like now it's like, ooh, a multiverse. Yeah, whatever. Tell me something else. I saw that on TV when I was 8.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Well, we're here for comics. You guys want to
review
talk
these
about
comics?
I think we should review these comics.
Yes, please. I read these comics. I want to talk about them.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to start today with Future State Dark Detective number 3, written by Mariko Tamaki and Matt Rosenberg, with art by Dan Mora and Carmine Di Giaminico. In this issue, Bruce Wayne meets the next Batman. As the Dark Detective makes his move to put an end to the villainous magistrate once and for all, the man who once wore the cowl encounters the next Batman. And these two have some questions for each other. Fists will fly as this explosive meeting erupts in the skies of Gotham. But with the clock ticking, can Bruce finish what he started and unlock the secrets of the fascist surveillance that plagues this city? And in Grifters Part 2, the lucky streak that Cole Cash and Luke Fox have enjoyed just hit a brick wall in the form of the Huntress. The over-the-top adventures of this in the gutters of Gotham City conclude in the most bone-crushing fashion possible. This was fine. I mean, I like the writers. I like the art. I think I'm more confused. I'm even more confused about the timeline of events, having the two Batmans meet each other.
Yeah.
And they meet each other in such a way that's just like, I see you, and then it's over.
Yeah.
It's fine. And then the Grifter story, I was into it until like the last third of it. There's a character turn that's just like, what? I like that Luke Fox would do that. Just kind of, it was icky. It was weird. I didn't like it. But overall, it was still a fun book. This was just a solid book. It didn't blow me away like other issues. The Batman stuff still continues to be the second best or second favorite in Future State for me. What do you guys think?
I liked the Batman. Okay, the Grifter story. I didn't read it, so I saw that it was there, and I was like, "Oh, it's a grifter." I'll wait, and I never.
It's a grifter.
It's literally what I said. I just didn't get back to it. The Batman story it's very cool. It's a cool story. It's well told. The art is amazing. This is the world that I envision. That they want this whole magistrate of Gotham City to look like and feel like. So it works for me. But Noel is right. Having this Batman, who we have been led to believe is Batman. It's like, this is Bruce.
Right.
Meet the next Batman totally changed. Like, I don't know what's happening time-wise now. And
especially with the Nightwing thing, right? Like in that Nightwing out issue, he met Nightwing for the first time ever, which seemed like it was a lot later than this.
Again, I brought this up like 2 issues ago. Bruce being alive and every one of his like family not knowing it just blows me away. It blows my mind. Maybe only Dick knowing, maybe only Tim knowing.
No, I think doesn't Selena know? Because I remember in the Catwoman.
I didn't read the Future State Catwoman.
The Catwoman one, she's trying to jump onto a train that actually has him in it, and I think it's alluded to that she knows he's on that train. I think that's what I don't remember, because it's kind of cool as it was. I ultimately didn't care, so I didn't reread it.
Maybe this isn't Bruce.
And that's what I said. And I was saying, like, maybe this isn't Bruce. We're led to believe that this is Bruce, but maybe ultimately this isn't Bruce. But because that has changed the timetable so much that I was like, I don't know where we are. Now, to be honest, I've told y'all before, I've said it here on the show, I'm trying not to care about where we are and just read the books as for what they are. And on its surface, this is just a cool comic book story. But for me to care at least a little bit more, I want to kind of make sense of it. I don't want to make sense because I don't want to care. But this book is kind of cool, so I just want to follow this book. But then the John Ridley book is not bad either. It's frustrating. Ultimately, I came away from this being very frustrated.
The character tie-in was the hardest part for me. Like, seeing them that felt like the John Ridley one should be much farther in the future, like way after. Like there hasn't been a Batman in a while. But he's also Lucius. He's like
5 years
would make sense. Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, I guess that would be fine.
Like this new Batman is already established.
Right.
But as in terms of the Dark Detective book, Bruce Wayne just died and is now like just in hiding, and maybe only has been in hiding for 6 to 8 months, maybe
not long, right? Like he's still wearing a Batman costume, like he's still running around Gotham City in a Batman costume. But I agree with you, Len. Like this book is cool. It's a cool book. It looks cool. Like the designs, the future designs, and that Batman costume are cool. At the end, I was like, wait, if these things are everywhere and they see everything, how come they haven't seen him where he is? And then they see him where he is right away. So I'm interested in it, and I want to see where it's going, and we'll see.
Well,
we'll see where it's
we
going.
only have 1 issue left, and hopefully there's a satisfying resolution.
Hopefully.
Let's take that.
I actually did. You know what? There's something I did mention that I do really like. I like how Dan Mora depicted the two Batmen together, and how Jace Tim Fox is taller. He's taller and bigger, and I thought that was really cool. Like,
I liked Bruce or whoever he is impression of him too. Right? Like, this is kind of weird looking at somebody else in my suit.
Yeah, there wasn't a and it surprisingly or refreshingly, there wasn't a you imposter. It was a you're talking to me like I don't know. I do know. Okay, I'll let you have it. Like it was almost cute. But did you read the second story, Brian?
I did not. I forgot about
this. This was the good backup, guys. This was the one that we liked last time.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. That's why I said I was going to come back to it. I just didn't.
Well, I didn't read the backup for Justice League either.
Oh, I didn't read that because I didn't want to. I just didn't want to. I scanned it and I was like, no. But this one, like, it was really, really good up until the point where the plot needed Luke Fox to turn on Grifter, and it felt like it felt truncated. Like, I'm not saying that the character would never do such a thing because this is a new world, but it was so edged in. Like, this should have been an actual 3-issue or 4-issue thing. Like, it was you saw the seams at the very end, and it was like, oh, that sucks. But still one of the stronger backups. Let's jump right into, unless anybody has any extra thoughts, let's jump right into Future State Justice League #2. I'll read the whole solicit, but we now know that most of us didn't read the whole book. Anyway, Future State Justice League #2, written by Joshua Williamson and Ram V, with art by Robson Roca and Marcio Takara. Exiled to a distant planet, the Justice League suspects an imposter in their midst, but not even the next Batman or Green Lantern can find the clues they're looking for. Meanwhile, on Earth, the terrifying return of a classic Justice League villain may spell doom for the planet. Doppelgangers abound, paranoia runs rampant, and only the Justice League can save humanity if they can ever find their way home. Plus, all the world's terrible truths are revealed as the Justice League Dark make their last stand. Hunted, beaten, and harvested for their magic, Zatanna, John Constantine, Detective Chimp, Ragman, Madame Xanadu, and Etrigan all unleash a desperate plan that could destroy them. But is it worth the cost to finish the Mad Merlin and his mysterious knights? Only Dr. Fate knows, and the truth may spell hope or doom. I did not care too much for the first issue of Justice League 2. There was some sort I just thought it was fine. I liked the characters version, like the versions of the characters, but the story was just like mad to me. It read like a late 90s comic, which is an aesthetic I don't really glom to. Mm-hmm. With that said, I actually kind of dug this issue. I really liked the fun wrap up. I thought the action was really slick. I liked where it ended the characters, even if we're not going to see these characters again, or at least for a long time. I liked how it kind of came around, and I really liked in the final battle with what are they called?
The Hyper Clan.
The Hyper Clan. I like how they paired characters together. So I liked how Joe, who's becoming my favorite Green Lantern, played Batman and Superman against the HyperClan versions of that. Like it was just smart, and it done any poorly, it could have been a lot more confusing because they were trying to juggle dialogue complexity with the art, and it just worked. It was fine. This was solid. What do you guys think?
I wound up just like you. I didn't like the first issue. It felt very 90s. It felt very by the numbers. And it felt a little bit in their characterization of the characters, to me, maybe a little forced. Now, I think that is because they probably knew they were only going to get to 2 issues to really do their story, and they wanted to present as much of these characters as they could. But that's how it came off in reading that one issue. This issue, I still feel it definitely still has that same 90s vibe, because this is the wrap up to that story. So it's a 90s story. But at the end of the day, I did come away enjoying these characters. I enjoyed their depiction. I enjoyed a Batman that is very much a Batman that you know, but it's still a different type of Batman. He's not the smartest person in the room. I too love Joe from Far Sector's Green Lantern. She is already my favorite Green Lantern. So I liked her, and it felt natural for her to be made the leader of this team, as she was showing that she was pretty much the leader of this team. I like the Superman in this book is not as assured as he is. Love Yara's Wonder Woman, and there's actually an Aqua that I like. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I found myself rooting for this team, and then the last page of this story makes you like, oh man, you mean this is it? Get the fuck, because there's like so many futures that are set up just on that one page. I'm like, oh man, this is the bullshit, man. Like you're finally getting me. You've hooked me, and if DC, if you knew how hard it was to hook me, but you hooked me, and now you're just gonna like let it go. I'm like, come on.
Be fair, it's more of a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing, because we're forcing you to read these books every week.
You know what?
I think you just finally broke down. Like, is this now? Like, it's actually, this is like phase 4 of your conditioning.
Go ahead,
well,
B.
so I did like the first book, although I don't disagree with anything you guys said. Like, it wasn't like, it was like a 90s futures story.
Mhm.
And but I dug it. You know, I did. This one, however, I really enjoyed. Like, so I had the same experience that you guys had, just one level up on each issue. And yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked the wrap up, you know, the finale. It reminds me that whenever they try to do the Justice League as not getting along, infighting, or whatever, it doesn't work. The Avengers, it works, right? They're always sniping at each other. The Justice League are like tight, you know? And I think it always works better in that way. And I was pleased with that resolution. I thought it was odd that the HyperClan, it still is in their HyperClan form when they are alone. Like, they are white Martians. Why are they? That was just to pretend to be heroes in the 90s in the JLA story. But maybe they've taken to them. You know, they like it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this would have been served better as a full miniseries, because you've got the you could have a whole issue on that Hell planet. You can have a whole issue exploring the previous Justice League's decision to maybe unjustly put them at that Hell planet. You could have, like, this one could have definitely, you know, been better expanded. Which, like, I don't know how some of these books got like 4 issues or 2 monthly, and then some just got 2.
Yeah.
This one feels like it should have gotten more, especially, you know, the prestige of the Justice League and bringing all these new characters together as one. It's like you're even handcuffed more not to be able to give them real characters because you've got no space.
So if I'm hearing you
That's
guys
true.
correctly, Len, you want more after this, and Noel, you wanted more of this. So the main thing that you're not liking about Future State is that they're not enough of like, that you're not into. I mean, you want more.
That's not incorrect. No, that's. I mean, you're twisting it, but that's not incorrect.
Right.
My problem with this initiative, because I'm not even calling it an event. There's no spine to this event. It's just, hey, everybody, aesthetically, we're doing this, and then everybody's just doing their own shit.
Which is what you had wanted them to do, right? Don't do an event. Just change the publishing line with no explanation, as you mentioned earlier in the show. I know. I'm twisting that again.
Yeah, you are.
I am.
No, I mean, Future State had nothing to do with it. It was what is your grounding? What is your baseline? And then we could tell our stories all around your baseline.
Yeah.
They haven't revealed what their baseline is yet, but publicly all they're saying is that there is no baseline, or the baseline is all, which is really weird. It's not anything that I find appealing, right? I mean, I love Elseworlds stuff, but if you're gonna just be a line of Elseworlds, cool, do it.
That's what I'm mostly seeing these as. Are just, these are Elseworld stories.
But taken as one. So, like, just the Magistrate story over Gotham. There's no cohesion. There's no spine of that either. It's just pieces all around. And I mean, they did finally announce that there's going to be a Future State Gotham ongoing starting in May. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be focused on the Red Hood. So, like, his part in all this. So maybe there is a hope that they'll tell this larger Magistrate story somewhere else. But just seeing it as it is, it's like, it's just all the good ideas are truncated and everything else is just kind of like decoration. I was like, all right.
I was actually with these more this month's issues, I was finding myself liking that aspect of it where Superman, Wonder Woman. I don't know if we're planning on talking about that later. But
I haven't read it. No.
Oh, I loved it. It was really good. Very enjoyable. And the fact that it was just 2 issues was like, here's a Superman Wonder Woman story, and it's cool, and it takes place in the future, and then this is it. I'd like to see more of that team, but I was very satisfied with the way that this played out.
Yeah,
I like the Superman Wonder Woman too. It has a very all-star Superman feel to it. And that's what I enjoyed about it. It really ultimately worked out to be a really cool story.
I'll have to go back. I didn't like. We could have easily just like every other week in the last month. We could have just done a fucking hour on Future State. So I was trying to spread the love around and just did these two because I knew that JD liked. You and JD liked Justice League 1, and then me and Len were like meh. Yeah. So I figured let's see.
Well, that's interesting, and you guys did like it. You know, I mean, I think this issue was very strong. Like it was yeah.
I don't think he read it, but I can all but guarantee that JD will probably have the same response that you did to it. Like, I liked the first one. This one was better, whereas we were like, meh.
Yeah.
Cool.
This one was better.
Like,
right.
It just progressed. But
there is one scene where the leader of the Hyper Clan meets all 6 Justice League impersonators, and I wonder who the extra person is. But, right? I went back over and over it, and there's one scene right when I don't know what his name is, the leader of them, the gold and white guy,
Hyper Supreme.
Yeah,
whatever.
And he's putting the red sphere in their machine, and all 6 of the Justice League are there. I mean, they're not really the Justice League; they're the White Martians pretending to be. And which I also thought was a cool idea, a cool build on their JLA concept. Was like, instead of introducing ourselves as new heroes, let's just pretend to be the League. But anyway, so all 6 are there, and then he's there, and the Wonder Woman imposter says, "Why are you revealing yourself?" Because he's supposed to be as one of the Justice League. Which one?
Oh well, he says it. He I wasn't sure where you were going with this. He says like, "Why shouldn't they?" Something to the effect of, "Why shouldn't they see us as we are doing this great stuff?" Like he was attempting to be his reveal because
no, but what he's saying,
they're all 6
in the shot. All the other 6 are impersonating all the 6 of the Justice League. So which one was he supposed to have been impersonating? And I honestly think that's just an artist mistake.
I think so. Yeah. But
I didn't even notice.
Curious.
I didn't have a trained eye with this book. Anyway, we're going to move on.
Wait. Can I say one other thing?
We're not going to move on.
We're not going to. But it's fun, and it's about Green Lantern. So early in the book, the thing that I forget who it is, but the way that they can recognize that it's her is that when she's cocky, her constructs are more detailed, right?
Yeah.
And then this was such an awesome moment later in the book. She figures out that the Superman and Flash are impersonating. They're not the real ones because she says something true that they read in her mind, but that she never told the Justice League. It's very clever. And then her constructs right there are the in-universe, like real-life depictions of the old Batman and Flash, which is way more detailed than Green Lantern constructs usually are. And that's awesome. Like,
so
super
that's a great scene, but bringing it up reminded me it's her that makes the turn at the end saying that that knowing each other more helped them in this fight, whereas that was an explicit example of them not knowing her at all helping her in the fight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but whatever. It helped everybody else. She's a good leader, right? She doesn't just take her own experience into account.
We're genuinely going to move on. There's like 6 more books.
We've got 20 minutes. Come on, let's keep it moving.
Let's do it.
So, I thought this might be fun to talk about. Black Hammer Visions #1, written by Patton Oswalt with art by Dean Kotz. So, an exciting reimagination of the Eisner Award-winning Black Hammer series, told by guest writers and artists such as Patton Oswalt, Jeff Johns, Mariko Tamaki, Chip Zdarsky, Kelly Thompson, and more of comics' top talent. This issue, Patton Oswalt joins artist Dean Kotz and Jason Wardy to explore the life of youthful superheroine Golden Gale on the Black Hammer farm before the beginning of Black Hammer #1, and her struggle to maintain sanity as a middle-aged woman trapped in an unchanging body of superpowered grade schooler. So we had previously done a book club of the first volume of Black Hammer. I know that Len has read the whole thing. I've read half of it, and I will go back and read the rest. And we've done the Black Hammer miniseries here and there. I think the last one that we kind of touched on was Barbalian. But I thought that this was interesting because it's an anthology series that explicitly just takes one of the characters with a guest writer or an artist team to tell a side story. Sometimes these are great. So I wanted to give this a shot. And personally, I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was a really, really wonderful, like they took one of those plot holes or plottish holes of the original story that we read, especially about Gail, them having to put her in school constantly. And the first thing I thought was like, how do you keep putting her in a different, or like, she still looks the same. I mean, these people don't forget over 10 years so much that, so you tell the story through the lens of some girls graduating high school and how they came across Gail 3 times. Once when they were like 8, or is it twice? Like once when they were like 8 or 9.
Yeah,
Twice, I
twice, I
think.
think.
And then once when they were like in 8th grade. And then it's 3 times, because then she sees her again later in the book.
Yeah.
But I thought it was such a really cool construct to tell a story about being weird versus being cool in high school. Like it was just, there was many layers to this, and I really enjoyed it. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I really liked it too. I just off the top, Todd Engel says, "So good. Who knew Patton Oswalt was so good at writing comics?" And I also, when I saw the cover, I was like, "Oh, Patton Oswalt is writing this." I mean, we all know how big a fan of comics Patton Oswalt is, but I've never known him to write one, and it was really good. You know, it very well done. I liked that this one, it's a single issue story. I remember we did the Barbalian one a little while ago, and although I thought it was well done, I wasn't drawn to continue that story. I mean, I've never read the Black Hammer other than what we reviewed for the show. So I liked that this was an entire tale. You know, the shortness, the succinctness of the story, I thought was very cool. And yeah, I remember wondering why they even put her in school, which I don't think was answered in the trade, but whatever, they do. And I like the message. You know, the message is great. She's like, "You're cool, you're weird, and I refuse to let my friend change that, who has the ability to remove your mind." Yeah.
Yeah, well, I loved the 2 aspects of it. So she told the one girl, "You're weird. Don't stop being weird. Don't let anybody stop you." And then you find out later on, she told the other girl, "You're gonna change, and it's not gonna bother you, but it's gonna bother her."
Right.
Which I thought was rad.
It was wonderful. Especially rad because that is another way of showing, you know, an aged person in this body. The wisdom that this person has. This person has been where you were. They know this story. You know what I mean? It's like your favorite aunt, your grandmother, just kind of like whispering in your ear. Yeah. I love this. This is what and B will get this. This is what Astro City at its best is. It is a comic book that is set in a superhero universe, but then uses that universe to try and tell real stories, real human stories. And that's what this is. It's set in this universe of Black Hammer with this character who can't age, and then using that aspect as another way of reviewing, growing up different, growing up with a sense of that you're different, that you sense that you're not like the others, and how do you deal with that? How do you you manage that with your life? And I thought that the art is very cool because it's, without being exact, it's reminiscent of the art of Black Hammer, so you definitely feel like you're still in that universe. The writing feels like spot on because the universe of Black Hammer is not really time specific, so it's not like it's supposed to be taking place in like some big city, or necessarily even taking place in like the 21st century so much. So these people feel like they're in time but slightly out of time, maybe like almost like to a degree, like for all intents and purposes, this could be Riverdale. The world of Archie, Archie comic books, not the TV show, that this was set in. I really just found myself enjoying it, enjoying the perspective, able to, kind of like definitely relate with some of the feelings that the characters had. And I also enjoyed the way that it wraps up, in that Gail is not just a teen whisperer, she's also a whisperer for just being yourself. Because anyone who's read Black Hammer, Gail is the one who's the most troubled by her predicament, because she is a grown woman that is stuck in a little child's body. And it's intensely frustrating for her. But she also recognizes, you know, who she is, and because of the form in which she's stuck in, she can't express who she is. So she definitely values the ability to do so. And when that is threatened to one of them, just because they know her, she staunchly is like, no, do not steal this from this woman. Let her be who she is. Don't just, like, you know, erase her. I thought it was a beautiful moment. It's a great moment.
I don't think Brian, you only read the first 6 issues. I got to read the first 12, and it's not clear in the first 6 issues that Gail is not just stuck as a kid. She lived as a 50-year-old woman. Like, she lived her entire life and aged, and then got stuck as a kid. So it's not just becoming wise within a body. It's literally like a body dysmorphia, being stuck in another body that is not yours at all. Right. So like it's almost, because there's been other stories, and I can't come up with an example right now of kid doesn't age, so kid becomes more mature. This is almost 10 times more tragic, because she had a life, and then it was regressed from her, which is just so creepy.
Yeah.
This is good. And the next issue is, I guess, Jeff Johns doing a horror version of the witch.
Well, one of the characters definitely lends herself to horror, and she's touched on in here a little bit.
What's her name? Like the butterfly or Madame Dragonfly or something like that. Yeah. But I love the idea of taking popular creators, giving them a genre, and chucking them into the Black Hammer universe for one issue. That's such a good idea for an anthology. I hope they're all as strong as this one.
Yeah, me too.
All right, I mean, let's roll right along. All right, so the next book I want to talk about, I had heard a lot of buzz for this book before it came out, so let's see if it met that buzz. It's Radiant Black #1, written by Kyle Higgins, with art by Marcelo Costa. Nathan Burnett has just turned 30, and things aren't great. He's working and failing at 2 jobs. His credit card debt is piling up, and his only move is moving back home with his parents. But when Nathan discovers and unlocks an ethereal cosmic radiant, he's given the power to radically change his fortunes. There's just one problem. The powers don't belong to him, and the cosmic beings who created them want them back by any means necessary. Yeah. So I had heard about this series, and Image was really pushing it, and I really liked the design and the cover. Like, the cover is gorgeous. And I really like Kyle Higgins. I've read a lot of really cool stuff for Kyle Higgins over the last couple of years, but most recently he did the Ultraman series that you guys necessarily, I don't think anybody read beyond the first issue. That was, I mean, it was borderline adorable. It was just really, really good. But then he also is the creator that revived Power Rangers at Boom and helped make that one of the most popular books on the stands. It has me questioning why I'm reading Power Rangers still. It's like he has the ability, or he has the innate ability to take perhaps cheesy or very simple things, but then imbue them with character to make them more engrossing. So what I was expecting out of this was characters that I really like in situations that are tropes. So not really like breaking the barriers or doing something totally different so much as doing something that's very familiar, but deftly. And I think that's pretty much what I got from this first issue. Spend 90% of it establishing his 2 main characters. And then in the very last, like, 3 pages, here's the hook. That might not work for a lot of people, especially if they were just expecting this to be superhero-y right away. So I wonder what you guys thought. I was cool with it. What did you think, Len?
I enjoyed it. It was fun. There's a, I mean, you told the story. The first of all, this sad sack of a dude. Like, like $38,000 in credit card debt, you are pathetic, dog. You're like really, really pathetic. It's fun. It's engaging. I was immersed in the characters right from the door. I liked that, as real as these characters were, and as kind of formulaic as they portend to be, that there was a slight change, because you thought that you certainly could read the setup of where your protagonist meets his friend. He has to move back home to his mom's, which is always a demoralizing event, and it is written as the demoralizing event that it truly is. But then he runs across his friend back in his hometown, who is giving him shit for having to move back home, which is nobody wants that. But just when you think he's just going to be a total dick, he, at the end of the day, is like, yeah, but you're still my boy. Yeah. So like, yo, dog, like, let's work through this, man. And I loved that. And then when the hook comes, and like, you know, the radiant black comes out of the sky, and shit changes. There's a moment where the dude gets his costume and his armor or whatever the fuck it is, and his bull walks up to him, and he has like this glass helmet on his head, and he walks up to him and starts tapping him on his head. And it's like, do you feel that? And I was like, I laughed out loud.
Meanwhile,
this book is working.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this poor kid is having a panic attack and not sure how to get it off because there's no seams. No, I definitely have friends like that too, where they bust your balls more than a villain would, but it's for some reason it is still it's still sentiment and it's still affection, right? And it's very, very difficult to do that on paper. But I oscillated between hating and loving this character, and I think that was by design. So I was totally okay with it. And I would totally be like, later on in this series, if I could see them going either way, this character becoming lecherous and terrible because he's jealous, or becoming the greatest confidant of this, you know, upstream. They could go either way with it, and they might arc to arc. It's just, it works on both levels, and I thought that was really cool. Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool. I enjoyed the book. And I also, real quick, am I the only one that reading this got a little bit of Invincible vibes from this? Yeah. In the dialogue and also in the art. There's definitely a Ryan Otley like vibe to this artwork. 1,000%. That I enjoyed. I enjoyed
1,000%. There's, I think, even in the solicitation they mention a cross between Invincible and Power Rangers.
Yeah,
which makes me think that there will be like massive monsters or something, or even just
I thought that was just a suits thing,
or multiple
maybe
suits.
Just suits.
Who knows?
This was cool. What did you think, Bri?
I also really enjoyed it. It was all that you guys made it out to be. It was. I like the costume design. Was very cool. I would absolutely go up and try to grab something if it appeared floating in front of me. I mean, why would you not do that? It could be.
They were drunkish too, so it's just like.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not kidding. I would absolutely go up and try to grab.
You don't need the liquor.
Well, I mean, like if you were just like half buzzed and you saw what looks like a lens flare / black hole floating in your eye line, like I'm gonna walk up to it and like
take a look at it. Yeah. Like if there's a strange doorway that appears, I am going through it. If a ring lands in front of me from the sky, I'm putting that ring on. You know, that kind of ring. I would step inside.
Yeah, like I was thinking Stargate ring.
Right. I will go inside of it. Right, exactly. You got to do that. You got to try these things out. It's interesting. His characterization is interesting. You know, the main character. And looking forward to seeing how it plays out. I think the way that it sets up the next parts of the story are interesting. The next issue, I find it impressive that he was able to lift this train and then set it perfectly back on the tracks so that there was no issues. That was good.
You know what? I think so. I never read Invincible in issues, nor did I read like Amazing or Ultimate Spider-Man in issues. But I know that they spent a whole arc with the characters just getting to either know them or even before they got in costume, they spent time with it.
Ultimate
I
Spider-Man,
wonder-
especially. Well,
It's
I didn't
like
read it
6
before,
issues. It's like 6 issues before he even gets
but
the
it felt
costume.
like about 2 years when it was coming out, but I was young and I don't remember.
But
a
the
long
idea,
time.
if I was reading that in issues, I wonder if I would have become impatient. So I'm trying to be more patient with this. Like there's no action in this book, but there's setup and promise for all. Like there's picks up a train kind of thing. It's more like inciting incident than there is actual like action. So I'm kind of cutting more slack for pacing because I feel like it's going to be the same type of thing. Like as a collection or a couple issues in a row, this is going to be more than just a cold open.
Plus, I feel like get superpowers in costume is for me like
It's
that's
enough.
like all right, that's good. Yeah, exactly. That's enough for me. I thought it was interesting the friend, like the way that he is talking to these police and like not getting off the tracks. I'm like they
White
seem
privilege.
to be in a pretty reasonable right. Like they're
Hella
telling you to
privilege.
get off of train tracks with a train coming. Like what are you doing? And it
He's a
was kind of
petulant shit.
interesting. What's that?
Yeah, he's a petulant shit.
Well, he is, and I wondered if he was going for when they're on this water tower and talking, and he's like, "Oh no, I was trying to help you," because that is the kind of thing that people do in stories where they're like, "This guy just got this crazy power, and I need to."
You know what? I see what you're
I don't
saying.
know.
Like you'd have a side character shoot him. Like I knew you were bulletproof. Like you didn't know when you shot me.
Right.
Like it's usually done as a joke.
Oh,
But-
no. I was thinking more like, sometimes people make grand plays with the police in this kind of story where they're like, well, you can't do anything. Like, I'm not getting off of this train tracks until you let us go. And he's like, well, you had just gotten taken over by this crazy suit and I needed to go. But in the real world, it would be like, get the hell off the train tracks, man. You're,
Yeah.
and why are you,
If that's the intention, it's poor execution because it's a matter of 70, 80 seconds between getting the suit and standing on the tracks in front of the cops. Nobody has had time to process anything. I took it as him being more of a petulant shit than trying to prove his friend is a strong, right? But I do want to talk about something really, really quick. If Brian, if you can help me out, do you know anything about this Patreon? Am I saying that right? Patreon?
I've never really heard a pronunciation guide. I pronounced it Magneto for years until the animated series, because why wouldn't you? It's magnet power. So I've heard people say patreon.com/Johnny Destructo. But who knows?
What do you do with it? I mean, why should you go there?
What one would do with it, right? If one has some money that they want to give to the show, well, we've made it easy for you. Well, patreon.com has made it easy for you. And so you go give us money, as much or as little as you like, and if if you don't have any money or can't spare any money, just like or subscribe to this channel, and tell people about it. Just talk it up.
Also, if you want to support the show, you can like, subscribe, comment, say hello, ring the bell. Engage with us every single place that we are. YouTube.com/CultPopGo or on Facebook /CultPop Podcasts. If you see us in the street, if you want to come to the store, I always forget the actual street address. Just come to
4327 Main Street in Manayunk, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I'm physically here right now, and I still don't know.
It is the only comic book shop in Manayunk. So go to Manayunk in PA and then say, hey, point me to the complex. And everybody will go, it's right there.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, you could just scream it in the street. Somebody will be
there
like,
might be an ice sculpture outside right now. No, is that ice sculpture still there?
There is a Spider-Man ice sculpture outside right now. There was a street event this weekend. But yeah, look, money's great. Your eyeballs and ears and patronage just hanging out with us is just as good. So thank you.
Just as appreciated. Yes.
Yeah.
We are gonna power through a couple of other books. So I did put this on here mainly because of the creative team. Jeffrey Thorne is showing up a lot in DC and at Marvel, and he wrote King in Black, Black Panther #1, which is the one-shot or one-and-done story tie-in of Black Panther into the King in Black. And the solicits say this. Oh, sorry, with art by Jermaine Peralta. Symbiotes invade the unconquerable country of Wakanda. T'Challa's most treasured allies are lost in a storm of Null's making in this wild one-shot. Critically acclaimed writer, actor, and producer Jeffrey Thorne explores a Wakanda gone dark, invaded by Null's massive symbiote army. Wakanda needs its king. It needs the Black Panther. But once again, the hero must choose between his role as an Avenger, his role as a king, and the yearnings of his heart. So on its surface, I thought that this was a really fun, straightforward kind of problem-solving scenario for T'Challa. But it was emotionally hooked on his relationship with Storm that I thought didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So it made me wonder about the continuity of that, if that's even a thing anymore, or maybe it's something that Jeffrey Thorne wants to reintroduce. Either way, it was very ambiguous when it comes to what's currently happening with Black Panther everywhere else. So it felt jarring. So maybe this is more of an issue for those that have not been reading anything with T'Challa in it for, I don't know, the past 10 years,
Right.
15 years.
It's been a while. And also, now that you mention it, it doesn't have anything to do with this story at all. Like
the Storm stuff? No.
Yeah.
No, it's essentially just an emotional hook. So it starts with her falling in New York. So in the series Prime, the X-Men have fallen to Null and blah. So it starts with kind of like that happening, and then T'Challa just kind of feeling it.
Yeah.
And then making mention
because he
of his
wasn't
beloved.
there, if I don't remember, right?
No, I don't think so. I assume he's been in Wakanda the whole time, like to be there now,
On its own, I enjoyed the story. I thought it was like I liked this for the same reasons. I feel this is better, but I liked this for the same reasons that I enjoyed his first issue of Green Lantern for Future State.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very tight war story that just plops you into a problem in an army and the smartest people in the room trying to solve the problem. And I really like when that's fast paced and put together. So like that was entertaining. But when it came to kind of the Storm stuff and the greater purpose of what they're doing and the metaphor started to fall apart a little. So like I would give this like a C+, B-.
Well,
kind of
even
solid.
his emotional beats with Storm, like they in no way play into the story
at all.
There's no tie-in between those two things at all.
No.
And it's strange. I did like I love a good fable kind of overlay on a story. I thought that part was cool. I wondered why when Black Panther is like, don your sheaths, put your sheaths up. Why are they not already up? Like, why? What's the story there, right?
I mean, because I know that even if I hadn't gotten the order to put on my sheath,
right?
I'm like, you know what?
You put on that
I think
sheath.
I'm going to sheath. Right. I don't know about y'all, but something tells me
I had this sheath.
it ain't doing me no good in my pocket.
Right.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, or imagine being like that one soldier in the front line that's just like, motherfucker, I put it on. Like,
it's been on since the moment I stepped on.
When they started storming at me, I put it on. I
saw this guy next to me turn into one of our enemies, and my sheath was on.
Yeah, like Jimmy turned into a monster,
right?
And I just put it on. Like no, it didn't seem like it had a purpose. To me, it almost felt like a writer trying to will something into existence or will it to happen. Like, he's a fan of this. Doesn't matter what you guys thought or whatever. He can do it right, and I'm just going to toss it in there. Thing? I am still hung up on it.
No, first of all, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it and it's amazing how much of I don't give a fuck about this whole null shit, but I am enjoying a lot of the one shots for what they are. Yeah. And I enjoyed this for what it is. This was fun. It was slick. Jermaine Peralta's art is amazing in this. The characterizations of all the characters, from Shuri to Okoye, and Black Panther, the world building of Wakanda that is seen in here, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every aspect of this. The whole deal with the Storm, I don't like. I don't want to put this at the writers, blame the writers so much for this, because there is a feeling upon that I feel, and there's a certain sect of the internet out there that feels as well, that the move will be now, especially since Marvel has control of the X-Men properties, to as this being a way of them to introduce the X-Men and primarily Storm into their movie cinematic universe. And you, as we know, the synergy between the comics and the movie companies is tight. It's not like DC. It's tight over at Marvel. And I would not be surprised if the word hasn't come down to start workshopping this into your stories in some way, so that we can get an idea how this is going to play overall. And that's what I see happening here. I'm not for it. I'm not. But that's what I'm seeing happening.
I think one level down. Personally, I think it's maybe one level down. Not an edict from Disney that these two characters
are going to be in the
movie. Hold on. No, hold on. I think it's more. I think it might be more. We started seeing more money put into X-Men and Fantastic Four and whatever just in the comics, as soon as they lost the license, or as soon as Fox stopped doing stuff with it. And maybe this is it too. Okay, we can finally let this relationship do something again. So you guys go ahead and do it, because we own the characters on every level.
Oh, you think they were keeping them separate because of the?
I think that they were not exploring it because they could. There was a whole bunch of articles at various levels of real or not that were written about. That were written about the fact that Marvel's not putting Fantastic Four in anything because Ike hates Fox and blah blah blah, and the X-Men are shunned because
that one seemed to be they canceled the Fantastic Four for the first time in their publishing history, I think, right?
Well, no, I definitely believe that they turned off the faucet money wise to X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Even more Fantastic Four, I think, because X-Men are way more popular. So,
right. X-Men, they kind of they had to keep out there because they were still popular, but that's when they started bigging up Avengers and Inhumans and all that type of stuff. So I definitely think that they've turned the faucet back on money-wise to those two properties, and maybe because of not wanting to shine more light on the X-Men than they necessarily had to. Maybe that's why the Black Panther Storm relationship was more dissolved and not, supported over those years. But don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some segment of the internet's, feeling about how forced that union was. That it kind of dissuaded them from returning to it, whole cloth, and that being the reason why they're just trying to pepper this stuff in here now, as to kind of workshop to see how it's going to go over. I'm not for it. I don't like it. I like Black Panther. I like T'Challa. I like Storm. I don't like them together. I'm not for that. But I'm just reading. That's what I see is happening here. That's the way I'm reading it.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I just if as a story, if you're it would only read not. It only reads organically if you haven't been reading anything.
That's true.
Dozen years.
That's true, because because the last thing you knew was that those two were married, and maybe they're not married anymore. It certainly reads on a human level that he might be feeling something that's his ex-wife, and yes, and it does make kind of sense, but you just got to read between the leaves and see what's going on.
But all things considered, when it comes to tie-ins, this was strong. It was just a good story on its own. Yeah,
it was.
All right, so let's move on to a book that I was surprised by, and it kind of was a request by a listener. So a couple weeks ago, was it Saint Saucy? Either way, somebody a couple weeks ago was just read Scout's Honor. Scout's Honor was great. Aftershock, Scout's Honor, read it. So the second issue came out this week, and we decided to read it. And I will tell you what the solicitation says. So Scout's Honor #2 by Aftershock Comics, written by David Pepose with, I'm going to butcher this name, art by Luca Casalaguida.
Casalanguida?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Luca, good guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Ever since the bombs fell and the skies turned to nuclear fire, the Ranger Scouts of America have built their religion upon the most sacred law, always be prepared. But after discovering a chilling secret in an abandoned bunker, Kit's belief in the Scout tradition is rocked to its core. When a gang of murderous highwaymen breached the Ranger Scout compound, her growing doubts might come to a harrowing cost. So,
Did it say her?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, that's a. This is the solicitation for issue 2.
For issue 2. So
Okay.
the first issue, spoilers. If you're not reading this, it was a wonderful amount of turns, and it was a really good book. In the first issue, it's revealed that hundreds of years after the bombs fall, one of the only pieces of literature that existed was a Eagle Scout handbook or a Boy Scout handbook. So it's like a religious sect of scouts and survivalists that just kind of propel, and it's only men, only boys. And we're introduced to this character who is amazing at it and will become an Eagle. What's the designation?
Eagle Ranger, I believe.
Yeah, Eagle Ranger.
But then it's revealed that she's actually a woman, Joan of Arc style, Mulan style. It's pretty great. And then this is just the further adventures of it. And we learn some harsh truths about what transpired hundreds of years ago in regards to the Scouts. This is just a fun ass book. I found myself incredibly surprised. Like, the art is strong. The writing is very tight. They create a whole world very quickly that's fleshed out. And I enjoyed the hell out of this. I was very surprised. Read the first issue and immediately messaged you guys like, I think we're going to talk about Scout's Honor if you're okay with that. Like, this was a really, really fun book, and I'm happy for the recommendation. Thank you for that. What'd you guys think?
I thought it was all right. I was so I didn't read the first one until I read them both together. I read them last. I read them.
Believe you. Go ahead. Keep talking, B. Keep talking. Keep talking.
I read them both together, and I was kind of, by the end of the first issue, I was like, all right, that was interesting. I'm now interested to see what is, what's going to happen in the second issue. I guess I was a little turned off by the Scout kind of milieu that it was in. I'd never been a fan of the whole, like, with their uniforms and rules and, that kind of, a general outlook kind of thing of the Scouts. Although not that they turn out to be so great in this story, but just like, I'm not a big fan of reading stories about like military stories either. It's just not the kind of thing that I usually get into. So yeah, I mean, it was dystopian future, post-apocalypse kind of thing. I didn't think there was anything like incredibly new, but it's a capably told story of this kind of style.
I felt the same thing. Real quick, you've got up there, I'm looking on the scroll here, and it says Scout's Honor #2. But I guess I only read #1 because that's the one that I saw in our Dropbox for us to read, and I read it. So I'm just peeping that. But that being said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was definitely engaging artwork, which is always the first thing that I look for. The story was kind of cool. It almost felt like, what would happen to me, being a huge fan of the Uncle Scrooge Tales by Carl Barks and DuckTales comic strip and TV series that featured Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the little ducks, who were also junior woodchuck scouts.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like their junior woodchuck manual, which basically was an encyclopedia of life, which like they would reference that for everything that they came across. Like what you how to start a car. It taught you how to hotwire a car. It taught you like all the different rocks of the universe. It taught you about the constellations in the sky. It had everything. It was this little book that they just keep in their pocket. And this read like what would happen if Huey, Dewey, and Louie were at the end of the world, right? Because they're like these scouts who've got this book and they swear by, like this is how they live their life, and they reference all the time. So that's how I read this in the beginning, and then as the story changed and it continued on, and things got subverted, and you learn that the one character Kit is actually it's not just Kit the brother, it's like it's Kit, it's like Kit the lady. It's like, all right, cool. So that's a little bit of a change that I didn't see coming, but I didn't see coming until the next to the last page. I was like, oh my God, and like boom, there it is. It's cool. I don't care. It was fine. By then I was engaged in it, and I was like, you know what? This is a fun little comic book. And it did anything new as far as this like view of the dystopian Earth? Maybe not. I like the switch of it because these scouts go against this rogue band that are called the Highwaymen, and when you on their surface, they definitely look like the bad guys of this time. And there was a little bit where I didn't like that because they were mostly portrayed as people of color as those bad guys. The Highwaymen are? Yeah. And as much as you could see, because they definitely had masks and some of them had long sleeves on. Right, but the ones that didn't, they were more people of color. And I was like, I don't know how I like that. Yeah. But then with the switch at the end of what the scouts are really about, now you can't look at the Highwaymen the same. So I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I'll be doing something with this.
That's possible.
I'm stay locked in with this. So once I reached the end of the issue, I was in for the ride.
Nice. I wonder how, in movies and whatever, they sometimes a woman will masquerade as a man in this kind of way, and I wonder how effective that would be. Like, all she does is kind of bind herself.
True.
And that's it. Like, would you not just be like, oh, she's a woman? And I am not anything about like this is not about how she identifies or anything like that. Like, she identifies as a woman, but is pretending to be a man for these specific purposes.
True.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, if you walk a certain way, you talk a certain way.
Yeah, I guess so.
Pull it off. And
people tend to see what they think is there.
That's right.
That's
right. They fill in the blanks.
Yeah. It's a story trope as old as literature. Yeah. So like I
was talking about in general. Like, I was not talking about this specifically. Like, yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Shop is open. So
I understand.
You're running a store.
Yeah. It looks busy for this early.
So, are we moving on?
Yeah, we are moving on.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I would suggest it.
Excellent.
So the last thing that I asked everyone to read was... Can you guys hear me okay with my mask on?
Yeah.
I believe it was the Eternals number 2. Is that correct?
Yep.
It was.
Marvel Comics, written by Kieran Gillen with art by Isad Ribic. Thanos versus Icarus. In the heart of the city driven mad by time. Eternals live eternally. One is dead. They handle it well. No, they don't. They handle it badly. Eternal revenge is a dish best served forever. So, surprisingly liked the first issue. Same notes. This is just weird fun.
Yeah.
They keep escalate. So the idea of what the conflict would be when you've got characters that live forever, they immediately took that off the board, which I thought was pretty fun. It wasn't a surprise, but it was pretty fun. And I like that where the wonky omniscient narration is the Great Machine.
Earth,
Mm-hmm.
who's kind of not all there,
Right.
and
right.
it's really funny to read. So I just really dug this. What did you guys think, Len?
I can't believe it, but I kind of dug it as well. I was like, wow. At the end of it, first of all, I like the art. I like Aesop Ribic as an artist in general, so I was with that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed how there was definitely an effort to give everyone a singular voice, and as that read with a singular cadence as well. So while I don't know any specific actors, I could definitely find a voice in my head that fit the characters. That's what I enjoyed. That and there's more characterization here. They just don't come across as just like we're supposed to give a fuck about them like from the door because they say so. There's a little bit of eeriness and creepiness to everything that's going on. I love the idea that the Earth is not a trusted narrator. I love that. You're right. This was just like crazy fun, and I can't believe I was all in. I also like the dark side. I mean, dark side. Thanos is
Tomato.
Is definitely in the beginning of the book, but this didn't dissolve into all about Thanos. It still was about the Eternals proper, and I enjoyed that as well. So you pull out the biggest MacGuffin that Marvel has out there, but it still worked. It was fun.
It's also like there is a very solid reason for Thanos to be involved in a way that is very little explored, right? Like Thanos' connection to the Eternals is not that big of a part of his history in Marvel Comics, and I find it interesting that he's there, and I like the way that they characterize him too, where Icarus wants to go back and fight, and he's like, "We can't let Thanos escape." Druig says, "Do you think Thanos would try to escape if we were still alive?"
Right.
Like that was cool. I also liked the little diversion into this side story about this other time that Icarus sees something that happens in the future. And I like the way that story played out, and I also like the idea of like, yes, a lot of these things have happened for them before. They've been around for a very, very long time.
Gillen plays really well with the unreliable narrator in regards to the Great Machine.
Unreliable.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Like that side story, I was waiting for it to matter, and it doesn't yet, but it was so enjoyable that it's okay. Yeah.
I like the narration itself. Also, the style that the Earth is, the Great Machine is speaking in.
Self-aware, very self-aware.
Yeah, very self-aware, aware that something is up. And also has I can't find any now, and I don't see any that none come to mind. But just like interesting turns of phrase, it uses that voice speaks very interestingly. I found there to be a certain kind of I don't know, like a peacefulness in a way to this story, like partially because of how it is drawn and the set pieces and all that stuff, and I really gravitated to that.
Yeah, it definitely has a little bit of a, especially after the end of last issue and the beginning of this issue, a little bit of immediately like we're going to step back. It's like a calm before the storm type of thing, but still with the impending doom hanging over our heads. So it was cool. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a fun book. I'm not going to say that I care about the Eternals, but I didn't think that I would read an Eternals and enjoy it. So it was pretty dope.
I think what impressed me most, or what impressed me very much, was these characters. So we read the game and stuff, and he seemed to bend over backwards to make everything fit to the detriment of the story, or at least to the detriment of the pace of the story. Whereas Kieran Gillen has literally and figuratively boiled these characters down to one verb or adjective or noun. Like, he's an arrow looking for a target. she's a trickster. Like he's been able to distill all of this stuff down very, very succinctly into a way that doesn't betray the characters, but also doesn't require you to know it all. And it's been working because in previous stuff of his, he's gone really deep in the weeds, and this is almost the opposite of that, where he's familiar with all the weeds, but he's able to just like pull out the good stuff. This was great. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. I like the Eternals. I like the idea of the Eternals, and I'm glad that there is a good Eternals story happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just hope this doesn't get canceled. I hope people are reading this.
Yeah, read this, people.
Yeah.
Robert,
is this an ongoing or a miniseries?
It's an ongoing, but they're not. I mean,
there's a
movie coming.
There's a movie coming out, and Black Knight just had his own special for the first time in a while. So I think they'll support this.
He's getting a mini series too. So like this is an ongoing right now, but if it doesn't sell, it could immediately become a mini, and they'll just have a trade to sell by the time the movie comes out.
Oh, right.
Like if we want this to continue, I think it's gonna require more than just synergy.
I'll see what I can do.
Because they are not. Yeah, can you work on this, please?
Yeah, I'll say. So Robert Monroe Jr. makes a good point. He says, Brian, that's happened many times in history about women who fight in wars and that kind of thing as men. There were women who joined and fought for the Union Army during the Civil War as men. Robert Monroe Jr., that is an excellent point. That has happened in actual life. And the fact that it happens in stories should not have thrown me at all. I don't know why it did in this particular case.
Well, with that,
I would like to close out the show.
Oh.
I'm not going to read the notes. I've got to run this little rinky-dink shop. I don't know why, but whatever. I'm just so incredibly happy that I get to spend time with you guys. I'm happy for JD. I can't wait. We're going to say goodbye for now. Thank you for spending the last almost hour and 40 minutes with us talking about comics. We're here every single Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the bell notification so you know when we do go live and when we post new content to this channel, because we do 2 or 3 times a week, and it's just fun, great content for you guys to enjoy and converse with us. I'm Noel. You can find me on social media at Mr. Bartocci, BARTOCCI, and or anywhere the CultPop stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. I will comment. Brian, where can the people find you?
I'm at brianleavedesign.com. That's the best place.
Hey, you can holler at me, Len, the Bat Triple, and everywhere you find the Black Tribbles. Too cool to be geeks, too cute to be nerds. We are Black Tribbles. Follow us on all the social media and YouTube.
So we had decided a couple of quick announcements. We had decided last week very quickly that we were going. Our next book of the month is going to be Day Tripper,
yes,
by Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon. We are going to attempt to do book club and gutter talk evening event extravaganza together. February 27th, I think, is the date.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Which just so happens to also be JD's birthday, I believe.
I believe so.
So we're planning for that. Obviously, there are some logistics we have to work out, but be sure to keep in touch for that. And no matter what, we're going to do a book club. So if you are ready for a book club episode, or if you want to get ready for a book club episode, it's going to be Day Tripper, a 10 issue maxi series from Vertigo about 10 years ago by Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon. Great stuff. But other than that, guys, thank you for spending time with me, with us, with the show. This has been Spoiler Alert. We'll talk at you later. Babies.